Hello Internet, and welcome back to According to Jon. Today I'm going to be giving a brief review of the latest adaptation of my favorite novel of all time. So, let's talk about Dune. So, Denis Villeneuve, I don't know if I pronounced that right, his adaptation, let's throw strong emphasis onto the word adaptation there. It does a good job of adapting the material. It doesn't lift a whole lot of dialogue straight from the book itself, but rather sets up set pieces, as it were, and allows the characters to kind of play off each other in a similar way to how it's depicted in the novel, but without the heavy exposition and a lot of the nuanced and very eloquent yet somewhat cumbersome dialogue from the book. This film has a lot going for it. Visually, it is totally on point. Hans Zimmer's score is amazing. The casting is friggin' spot on. When I saw Giedi Prime for the first time, even before the subtitle popped up, I knew exactly what I was looking at. A lot of the design work is really, really solid. I love the brutalist architecture in Arrakeen, though I do feel like it could have looked a bit more populous, although I get it was, during the heat of the day, so a lot of people were probably seeking shelter. The ornithopters are fucking great. And the worm design is really good, even though we never really get that good a look at it, or at them. Even for the big reveal shot right there toward the end, it was kind of poorly lit, so you don't really get to see the worm all that clearly. I feel like a way that they could have done that better was to keep the internal fire in the worm's gullet thing from the books, because that scene would have been really good with orange light coming out from inside of its mouth and kind of highlighting everything, but, director's prerogative, I guess. I do feel like we could have done without so many visions involving Chani, because it sort of beat the audience over the head with it a little bit. But I did like the alternate future in which Jamis is a friend that, teaches him the ways, because, he actually kind of is, even though he ends up, dying. I mean, it's a pivotal moment in the novel, and is pretty much our end point for this first installment of the new films. Overall, I liked it very much. All the sound design and music and visuals are really spot on. I do wish that they had thrown a bit stronger emphasis onto just how precious water is on Arrakis. We had the sequence with watering the date palms, and that was pretty good. But, I do feel like that could have been handled a little better, because without I don't know, for me, reading the novel, the scene that really drove that home wasn't the existence of still suits or any of that stuff. It was the scene when the water sellers are crying "Susuk" and selling the squeezings of rags to pilgrims. That really drove it home for me, and I wish that had been in the movie, because it not only reinforced just the sheer degradation of how life was on Arrakis under House Harkonnen, it also really drove it home about just how incredibly precious water is on Dune. A couple of scenes that were cut that I really feel should have still been present are, of course, the banquet scene, which was really fucking good in the novel, and the conversation between Jessica and Dr. Yue, where she almost figures it out that he's the traitor. Spoiler warning. It came off with Yui feeling like almost an incidental character. Another scene that didn't make it into the film was the confrontation between Thufir Hawat and Jessica. Yeah, I should probably mention that the way voice was depicted was fucking awesome. All the performances are totally on point. Oscar Isaac, is Duke Leto. Same with Rebecca Ferguson, who just kills it as Jessica. Timothée Chalamet is totally on point. Zendaya's awesome. Javier Bardem, is it pronounced Bardem? He's great as Stilgar. Again, exactly my mental picture of the man. And oddly sort of looks like the actor from the first miniseries and the David Lynch version kind of like did the fusion dance and combined into one person. I understand adding the scene of Duncan fighting his way out of the residency in Arakeen. That's a creative choice I probably would have also made, just to give him a bit more screen time and show what a badass. I feel like Stellan Skarsgård was an amazing Baron. I would have liked to see more from Piter de Vries, but you know, it is what it is. That weird spider-like thing, I'm assuming, is a Tleilaxu creation, and that works. All in all, I think this is a fantastic adaptation of the material, even if it does sort of feel like Cliff Notes. Like, at over 2.5 hours long, it still feels like some of the scenes are a little rushed. I would have liked to see Mohiam follow up her open-ended question, like, an animal caught in a trap will gnaw off its own leg to escape. What will you do? I would have liked to see her finish that thought with a human will remain in the trap, enduring pain, feigning death, that he might kill the trapper and remove a threat to his kind. I did like a lot of the more personal interactions, like Paul and Duncan talking. That felt very genuine. I do feel like the relationship between Paul and Gurney Halleck or Thufir Hawat could have been a little better fleshed out. One thing I definitely feel like could have been done better, and this is odd because the still tent scene is fucking amazing, but I feel like it would have worked better if, when Jessica is saying, you're Paul Atreides, if he had interjected with, well, they will call me Muad'Dib. That would have been an excellent way to kind of round out that scene and really, pow, make it hit hard. I did notice that Duncan's Thopter was being chased by a lasgun beam, so I'm not sure if they're going to keep the whole lasgun shield interaction atomic thing from the book. I kind of hope they do, because one of the things that I also felt was lacking in terms of exposition was why laser weapons aren't used. Like, coming into it as someone who isn't familiar with the books, I feel like a lot of people might be asking themselves why people aren't using guns. And while they could probably figure out that shields could deflect projectile weapons, it doesn't do so good laying out exactly why laser weapons are dangerous to use, where the book gives a very good reason as to why so much of the actual fighting is hand-to-hand or knife-to-knife. And similar with the outlawing of computer technology and emphasis on, like, thinking machines and the Spacing Guild and the Bene Gesserit as, schools of thought, as it were, to develop the human mind. I do think that there could have been a little bit more there, but I also get the impression that Denis is holding back so that some of that can be explored more in this this series that's supposedly coming out about the Bene Gesserit. Either way, those are my basic thoughts on the film. Friggin' go see it. It is excellent. It's a very faithful adaptation of the material, even if it glosses over a few things and kind of simplifies some concepts for mass consumption. Anyway, so those are my thoughts. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment, and all that good stuff.